Tiger Woods is here. He is considered one of golf's greatest players, if not at his best, the best. In 1997, at age 21, he won his first major tournament at the Masters by a record 12 strokes. He was previously the only male to win 3 straight U.S. amateur titles. With a total of 14 major championships under his belt, he trails only Jack Nicklaus, who has 18. In recent years, he has been sidelined by injury, including 3 back surgeries. Tiger delayed his return to competitive golf early this month, stating, "My game is vulnerable and not where it needs to be." This year marks the 20th anniversary of the Tiger Woods Foundation. The charitable organization focuses on youth education and intends to double the number of students attending college through its scholarship this year. I'm pleased to have Tiger Woods at this table for the first time.
Thank you, Charlie.
We've been trying for this for a long time, and so I thank you for taking time.
You got it. Absolutely. Thank you.
This has been an interesting several weeks for you. There's the Ryder Cup. You were a vice captain.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You were instrumental, according to Patrick Reed. You were with him on the course, and he says you were in his head. You announced a new company,
right.
TGR,
Correct.
which is going to be involved in live events and restaurants and golf course management and other things. You celebrated, as I said, the 20th anniversary of the foundation. You announced, as you did, that you would play in Safeway at the Safeway tournament. And then you withdrew, saying your body was okay, saying that your golf was vulnerable. What did you mean?
Well, Charlie, before the Ryder Cup, I was playing, and I was able to shoot scores and play at Medalist at home. And then obviously I took some time off during the Ryder Cup and was focused on that. And I never quite got my scoring around. And I was so excited to play. I wanted to compete. And I went out to Stanford right before Safeway. And I was practicing out there with the team and hanging out with them and really working on my game. And it's a hard realization knowing that, you know, I'm not scoring like I should be. My feel for hitting, you know, 150-yard 7-irons and taking stuff off of it, or jumping on a 9-iron and hitting the correct distance, shaping shots, all that stuff, I kind of lost the feel of that. And trust me, as a competitor, I was ready to go. I wanted to compete. But in my heart of hearts, I knew that I couldn't go out there and shoot 63s and 64s. And trust me, as a competitor, it doesn't feel very good.
So as the greatest iron player in the history of the game, many say, the greatest iron player in the history of the game, to take a 7-iron or to take a wedge and not be able to do what you know you have done before, what you have felt before, what does it feel like?
Well, it was more of the feel of hitting those shots because I haven't done it enough. And I was in a groove playing at home. I took the time off with the Ryder Cup, and trying to come back after that, I just didn't quite have the same feel. And I thought I would pick it up right away. And I was ready to compete. I was ready to go. And man, it's tough knowing that, you know, I see a shot and I say, okay, I can kind of feel it, but it's not quite there yet. If it's not quite there yet, hey, you've waited over a year to get back to this point. Let's be smart about it and, you know, not rush it. And that's from my brain saying that to me, but my heart is saying, Tiger, let's play. You know, let's go. Come on, let's get back into it.
Have you come back before when you think now, looking back, it was too early?
Oh God, I've done it so many times. I've done it so many times, either through surgeries or through injuries. I've played through them. I've come back early. I've damaged the body to compete at a high level so many times. And this time I took a lot of time off to get it right, and there's no sense in hurrying and getting it, you know, injuring it anymore, or shaping shots and getting the feel for it. I want to do it all right at the same time, have it all come together. And at Safeway, I thought I was ready for it, and I wasn't. And I said, okay, just take a step back. You waited this long. There's no sense in the urgency of getting back out there and doing it again. Make sure your stuff is ready, and when your stuff is ready, let's go.
And you'll know.
Oh, yeah, I'll know.
But Jasper and some others have said I've played with him, and boy, he's back to being amazing. I mean, have you had those kinds of rounds?
Yeah, as I said, I've done that at home, but knowing that I have to do it in a scoring environment on the PGA Tour and shoot the same scores I'm shooting at home, the mid to low 60s, and doing that again, I wasn't quite ready for it yet. And, you know, because of this is the longest layoff I've ever had in my career, and I've never had this long a layoff, so my feels aren't quite what they used to be. And so I just need more time, more practice time at home, more play time, playing more money games with the guys on tour, you know, at home. Some of the young guys coming out there, we'll go and play a bit.
There's a bunch of golfers live around you.
Oh, my God. There's, at Medalist, I believe there's 33 pros that play out there. And so
you've been having rounds with them?
I've been playing with them, yeah. And taking a little bit of, you know, dinner money here and there.
But is this a bit like, for me, there's a difference between the driving range and the course. There's a difference between playing around with friends
Correct.
and a tournament.
Yeah, being Ranger Rick is one thing, and then go out and play with your buddies is another thing, and then ultimately playing at the tour level is a totally different deal. And then beyond the tour level is the major championships.
Right.
And so there's a progression, and I'm not quite at that tour level progression yet.
Do you believe the talent is there?
Oh, yeah.
You're sure?
Yeah.
How do you know?
Oh, I can. I'm hitting the shots. I can feel the shots. I just don't quite have it all yet, and I like having the full repertoire of shots, and I really wasn't there yet.
Let me just analyze your game today. The putting. How's the putting? The putting is what made you great.
Right. I can putt.
You can putt?
I can putt.
There's no problem there. The long irons?
Not a problem.
So what is it?
It's just overall scoring.
Just overall scoring?
Just overall scoring.
It's not a particular aspect of the game that you can fix and then you got it?
No, it's just putting it all together.
You're keeping it in the fairway?
Keep it in the fairway. I'm not quite as long as I used to be.
By how much? 10 yards?
I can carry the ball over 300 yards. Yeah. But, you know, the big boys are now 330.
Yes.
You know, so it's a different ball game. You know, the game has gotten a lot bigger. As I was there at the Ryder Cup watching some of the guys hit golf balls, you know, it was 52 degrees out, and these guys are using the TrackMan, and I'm looking at the numbers. I'm going, it's 52 degrees out, and Strix and I and Jim and Furyk are just looking at the numbers, going, yeah, that just carried 308. You know, it's 52 degrees, and we're looking at each other, going, can you hit one right that far?
Do you need to make any adjustments to your swing?
That is something that is flowing. It's ebbing and flowing. I'm making slight tweaks here and there, and that is something that I've always done. It's just making a little bit of tweaks.
That's the search for perfection.
Not perfection, but professional excellence. We're not perfect. So I've converted the word into professional excellence.
But you were thinking perfect.
I was thinking trying to get better.
But you've always done that.
I mean, always tried to get a little bit better.
That's the search for different swing coaches. That's the search to, you know, what can I do as good as I am? Because you were experimenting your game when you were winning every tournament you could see.
Well, I was doing that even when I was a kid. Yeah. I was always trying to get a little bit better.
Mindset. Will to win. Clear-headedness. That's there. Sure. No, those who suggest vulnerable means not just the game, but vulnerable is about somehow not having the same sense of rightness that you had at the best of your game.
Well, when I played my best, that was 16 years ago. Yeah. And so most guys, most guys aren't jumping and doing 360 dunks at age of 40. Okay. Most guys aren't taking off from the foul line and doing dunks at age 40. And so, yeah, we have to make adjustments as we get older. And I've done that throughout the years, and throughout different injuries, played around them. And this is no different.
I do get the sense, though, that you don't want any more surgeries.
Oh, God, no.
Well, I know for a different reason. I mean, you want to play with your kids and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. You've suggested that you've had it with surgery.
7's enough.
7 is enough.
7's enough.
And part of the reason is you want to play with your kids, you want to do all these other things. You don't want to be in pain.
I love playing soccer with my kids. Yeah. And I love being able to toss the ball around, playing golf with Charlie. Yeah. I love doing that stuff. Are you kidding me? That's the best thing. That's the best feeling in the world.
Sam plays as well?
She plays soccer.
Yeah.
And so for us to do soccer drills and just to have fun, and to me, when I was hurt after the last surgery and I couldn't do any of that stuff for months at a time, that was brutal. That was hard to take because Daddy lets us go play. I Daddy can't move.
But I do get the sense, I mean, in terms of what you're doing, announcing the company, that you are prepared if golf is over to have another life.
Well, Charlie, it's basically the TGR branding is bringing all my businesses under one umbrella. They've been existing, right? But I'm setting up chapter 2 of my life.
Right.
Okay. Chapter 1 was the golfer, only the golfer, of playing golf and winning golf tournaments. Here, I'm setting up chapter 2 without hitting a golf ball and trying to create a business empire and different business entities and growing that so that I don't have to hit a golf ball and so that I can
be a happy person.
No, to do other things that are of my interest. The golfer can still be there. I can still play. I can still do those things, but it's not mandatory for my businesses to grow and for me to help kids with my foundation or with the restaurant or the TGR design or all that stuff. I don't have to hit a golf ball. I can eventually transition into being strictly
an
entrepreneur.
And involved with the foundation and other things.
100%.
Okay. Here is what's interesting about you more than any athlete I know. It's not just you, it's us. We can't let you go. I mean, there's a sense that we never...
Oh, you care?
Well, yes, I know. But there is a sense that we never understood how it was to be so brilliant on a golf course. We didn't get how one could be so dominant in a sport. We didn't understand how you could lose that either. And we desperately, and I think this is everybody, because of the mystique and because of where it was and because of how it was lost, is to understand and to want you to come back. They want to see it, that kind of dominance. It's reflected in television ratings. They want to see it one more time. You've thought about that?
Of course, Charlie. I miss being out there. I miss competing. I miss mixing up with the boys and coming down the stretch.
You like being Tiger Woods?
I like beating those guys, and that's why I practice all those hours. That's why I trained all those hours in the gym. I ran all those miles, is to be ready to take on those guys down the stretch. And do I miss it? Absolutely, 100%. And to be at my age now, at 40 years old, and to have gone through the things I've gone through, physically. Hey, I'm the first one to admit I can't do the things I used to be able to do, but most people can't at my age versus when they were younger. I have to find different ways to go about it.
You have to find other ways to win?
Yes, I do. But because of my mindset, I'm naturally a tactician. Even when I was hitting the ball long and blowing over the top of bunkers, that was the strategy. And so I used my mind, and then eventually the method I used allowed me to master my craft.
But that's why the mind is so important. I mean, you used your mind. You learned that, you learned that from your father, I assume.
Yep.
You learned mental toughness. You learned how to win. You still have that.
Oh yeah, that part hasn't left me. I know how to get it done. I just need to get into a position to get it done.
But you have to do this yourself. There's no coach. There's no psychologist can tell you that. Correct?
Well, as a individual athlete, you're actually out there by yourself. I know Joey's with me, on the bag.
Right.
But no one's pulling the trigger. No one's bailing you out. The manager's not coming in and bringing the righty in when you're struggling. You're by yourself. There's no timeouts, and okay, I'm not feeling very good. We'll play. Guy off the bench. He'll come in and fill your role for the night.
Sure.
You're by yourself out there, and you got to figure out a way to get it done.
But did you like that about the game? That's part of what you liked about the game.
I liked the grind of it, and I liked the ownership of it. And what I really loved is, and I still love, is getting out there and figuring out a way to get it done. Just figuring out a way. Whatever you have.
The challenge of figuring out a way.
Whatever you have, trying to figure out a way, dig down deep in myself to try and find a way to get it done. And it may not be pretty, but finding a way to get it done. Because I've won golf tournaments, as you know, hitting it 4 fairways over left and right. Missing greens and chipping in and holing out.
And people have seen you hit putts when it was almost dark and they didn't know how you could possibly see the hole.
Well, I'm I'm a tiger. I'm a cat. we have night eyes.
But I don't want the time to go by without saying this. This is what you said. People don't understand that when I grew up, I was never the most talented. I was never the biggest. I was never the fastest. I certainly was never the strongest. The only thing I had was my work ethic, and that's what has gotten me this far.
Well, Charlie, you can't take that away from me. That's one thing you can't take away. You can take away...
You're prepared?
You can take away all my physical attributes, but you can't touch my mind. And so that part of it is being mentally prepared and having the mindset of preparing and digging in and doing the work. I've never been afraid of that.
Some have said to be Tiger Woods was both a gift and a burden. How was it a burden?
Well, it's a burden in the sense that it's the amount of obligations that I have at a tournament, the anonymity that was lost. That, you know, if you look back, the only regret I have in life is not spending another year at Stanford. And I wish I would have had one more year.
That's the only regret?
That's the only regret I wish I had.
Of all the things that's happened to you?
All the things, and that's all.
Everything.
All the things I've learned, all the things I've been through are tough. Yes, they've been tough, but they've been great for me. But I wish I would have gone one more year at Stanford.
Why do you say that?
The amount of brilliant people that were there, the things I was learning at that time, was I ready to turn pro? Physically, yeah. Because I won a bunch of tournaments. I won the College Slam at the time. No one's ever done that, which was when the conference, region, and nationals. I won 3 amateurs in a row. And so I was ready to go. But I wish I could have spent one more year learning from everyone who was there. People who were designing their own computers, people who were working at the linear accelerator.
Yeah, there are stories about you reading physics books and being fascinated by a whole range of things like that. But you can always do that. There's still time to...
But being around those people at that age, you don't really get a chance to do that again. And to have 2 great years at Stanford, it shaped me more than the years that, subsequent. Those 2 years really did shape me because the amount of people, and plus going away from home for the very first time, and for me to feel at home and comfortable around some of the greatest athletes on the planet, some of the brightest minds on the planet, and we're all so young, and we're all doing it together, and this is before the internet. So having the communication and trying to get through study groups, that's one thing I do miss.
This was in the 90s?
This was the 90s, yeah.
I want to talk about how you became Tiger, how you lost it, and how you can regain it. We'll talk a little bit about that. I mean, why golf in the first place?
Well, that's a great question. I've played it basically all my life. I played baseball. I was a pitcher. I ran track and cross country. I liked doing those sports, but I didn't love it. I kept coming back to golf. I kept finding myself running the miles in track and getting, and especially cross country, getting all that mileage in to get ready to play golf. And when I was on the mound throwing, I'm thinking, okay, this is like number one. Okay, I got to position my shot down the right side of the fairway, so this fastball is going to be outside. I'm just positioning that. I kept thinking of my mind kept coming back to golf. And so whatever I was doing, it kept coming back to golf.
And you watch your father hit balls in the garage up against the net?
I did. And it was one of those El Nino years. Yeah. So Pops wasn't allowed to go out there and hit the amount of range balls that he was normally, because it was hosing down rain. Storm after storm kept coming in Southern Cal. And, I just happened to be born in December, and the very next year, El Nino hits, and, here I am.
Talk about him and your relationship with him.
Well, not only being my dad, he's a person I miss dearly. I think about him every day. And he was more than just my dad. He was a person I could always turn to, a friend, a mentor, a leader, and then eventually a follower. And he put on so many different hats and was comfortable playing different roles, and that's something that I thoroughly miss.
And what did he give you?
My dad, he gave me so much. I mean, he gave me his heart. He gave me his soul, and the fact that we were able to have the conversations we were able to have through all my childhood, and when I turned pro, and even when he was sick and he was battling prostate cancer 3 times, he would always find time and somehow find a way to be able to talk to me. And even if he wasn't feeling well, he'd sit up and we'd have a great conversation.
Let me ask about a couple of things. Number one, the time that I guess you jumped out of a plane at Fort Bragg or somewhere, and your dad said, your dad said, now you know what my life is like. Correct?
Yeah, I jumped up the Golden Knights there at Fort Bragg. Yep.
And what did he mean?
Well, it was, I had grown up playing at a military golf course and been around the military and been around active duty and retired servicemen my entire life. But I haven't experienced what he got, well, he had to do, you know, for his job.
As a Green Beret in
As a Green Beret,
Vietnam.
it's merely it's a transportation.
Right.
To get to your job.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
it's like I was taking a car to go for me to go to the golf course. His was jumping off an airplane.
Right.
But
he said to you, now you know what I do.
The
It
dedication.
was like, I watched you and what you were as a golfer, now you can see what made me.
Correct. The amount of physical work that it took for those guys to do what they do and still do, the operators that are operating, you know, in the past and currently, it is physically demanding. It's brutal. It's brutal on the body, and it is even tougher on the mind. And so getting over fear and relying on others, not only to basically save your life. That's something I never experienced, never understood.
He helped you understand fearlessness?
I wouldn't necessarily understand it because I would always kind of adrenaline junkie to begin with.
Yeah.
And so, but I understood where he was coming from now.
People believe that what you have had on the course, certainly at the best of those years, when you had such a remarkable, spectacular run, that it was toughness, that you were mentally tougher than everybody else.
I just knew I was going to beat you.
You did.
I did.
But it was part of what happened to you. You were expected to win.
That's fine. But I expect to win as well. And the toughness, I think the toughness came in through practice, and as you were alluding to, hard work, and me working hard and really feeling comfortable and hitting all the shots and pulling it off. All the shots you've seen me pull off, I've already pulled off. I did it in practice. If I can do it there, I can do it anywhere.
You're convinced you've worked harder than everybody else.
That's something that I may not have.
Hogan felt that too.
I just know that, as I alluded to, I wasn't always the biggest. I wasn't the fastest. I wasn't the most gifted. But you can't take away my work ethic.
But you wanted it more?
I wanted to beat you more.
Is this the same competitiveness that Michael Jordan has?
I don't know. You know,
Well, you know Michael.
I do know Michael, and Michael's tough, and he loves winning, and he loves beating people. And I think there's a certain commonality between all levels, whether forget athletes, but for all professions. I think you just enjoy getting better and being the best.
And so what happens when they beat you?
You go back to the drawing board and do it again.
Is that right?
Absolutely.
So you have always said, there's another day, and I'll be back, and I'll beat you.
My winning percentage is not very high. You know, we lose more golf tournaments than we win.
Yeah.
And it's like a baseball player. If you hit 300, you're in the Hall of Fame. Okay?
Indeed.
So you lose 70% of the time, but you're one of the best that's ever played. So in my sport, it's the same way. The winning percentage is not very high, but it's still finding a way to come back and get it done.
How do we measure the best to ever play golf? Is it Jack simply because he has 18 majors, or is it some general appraisal, simply that person had more talent and applied it better than anybody?
That's a great question. It is so hard because we never got a chance to play against one another, except for that one time where we played with each other in 2000. But when you cross generations, you know, it's very difficult to see who's better than the other in all sports. But I just think that for me, I would take my skills up against Jack any day, and I'm sure he'd feel the same way.
Do you believe you'll get 18 majors?
To be honest with you, no.
You don't?
No.
You've accepted that?
I've accepted I'm going to get more.
You're 40.
Yes.
Jack won the Masters when he was 46.
46, correct.
Tom almost won the British Open when he was 59.
I know. He had on his club, yeah.
Yeah. But you got to get started soon.
Whether soon or not, I need to get started and be ready to go.
When your dad died and you took his body back to Kansas, did that take something out of you?
Having to bury my father, that was very difficult. I've never lost a parent. My mom's still alive. And that was the first person that has ever been close to me that I've had to go to a funeral and bury. And it happened to be the person I was closest to. And
the most influential person in your life, bar none, not even
absolutely
close.
Correct. But also the person I was closest to. So I don't know if I'm in it if I'm the only one who's ever felt that way.
Well, of course not.
But it hurt a lot. I mean, I grieved. I didn't grieve right away. I put it away for a while, and I missed the cut at the U.S. Open. Yeah. I played horribly at Wingfoot, and then I still hadn't really grieved yet. But then I came back at Hoylake, and I played really well. And for some reason, it was the most interesting thing going out there and playing the final round. I had this overwhelming sense of calm. Like, okay, what is this feeling? You know, normally you're pretty jacked up to play the final round of a major, and you get a chance to win. And I did, and I had the lead. But all of a sudden, I felt this overwhelming calmness, and it was like my pop was there. And then I finished the 18, and I never cry. But this started coming out. I mean, I couldn't control it. I just missed my dad. And I knew right then that he would never witness this again. And that was really hard to take.
He treated you like an adult.
He did. One of the things that I do with my kids that he did with me is anytime we talked, he'd always make sure that he was always at eye level. And so when he was up above me, he'd always sit down. And then if he was laying down when he was towards the end of his life and he wasn't feeling very good, he'd sit up. And so we'd be at eye level now. He'd come up, and we'd always work at eye level. And that is something that I think is so important. He never talked down to anybody. He never talked down to his child. We were communicating.
There were times in which you were estranged from him. Yes?
Oh, I don't know about estranged. What do you mean?
Well, meaning that you two were not getting along because you had some questions, and your mother knew he was sick. This is what is said, and I'm asking you, is it true? Because it's a perfectly natural thing for everybody to do. And your mother said, you got to go make up with your father. You don't know how long he's going to live. And if you don't, you'll regret it the rest of your life.
I wouldn't say that we were that far apart. Not like that. We were still in communication. We were still talking. But I needed to get my relationship back to where it used to be.
But what was wrong with it?
You know, I think that
what was wrong with it?
When Dad was sick, he really said some pretty outlandish things. And I think it was just him being sick. But I took it personal. So I said, hey, you know what? Hey, you've been really sick, and the meds you've been on, he's been all over the shop. His diabetes was really bad. And I didn't understand it at the time because I was still playing golf and still focused on the things I needed to do. And a couple times when he was really sick, he would say, you know, hey, how was Kentucky last week? I said, Dad, I was here with you yesterday. You know, but he said some pretty outlandish things at the time, and chalk it up to being sick. But he gave me one last hurrah. About 2 weeks before he died, he gave me one last hurrah. And it was a talk that we talked for about an hour and a half. But it was my dad of old. He gave me one last bit of himself, and then from then on, he quickly eroded and then finally passed away.
Would you be the golfer you are without your dad?
No.
You would not be the champion that you became?
Without my dad or my mother. There's no way.
Both of them?
There's no way. No.
Because your mother stood by you and stood by him.
My mother was so supportive and so loyal, and so great as a mother that there's no way.
She was also supportive after Thanksgiving 2009, when you had a public humiliation. Tell me about dealing with that.
My mom was my mom, which was great. She became a mother.
She said?
She says, I'm always here. I love you no matter what. And she gave me a bunch of big hugs, and that was really cool. That yeah, did I mess up? Absolutely. But my mom was still there for me. And she was
and that
just
was
my
important.
mom. Absolutely, because I didn't have my dad anymore. It was just her and I.
Some would suggest, obviously, that that humiliation you went through publicly, your private life exposed, has a lingering effect on your mind and your game.
I've heard that too.
I know.
I look at the fact that, yeah, I made a bunch of mistakes, but in the end, Elin is my ex-wife. She's one of my best friends. We've had 2 beautiful kids, and we have better communication than we've ever had. And I have talked to her about my life almost on a daily basis, and she does the same. So it was rough to go through, but in the end, you know, here we are, better than we've ever been.
How do you tell your kids why Mama and Daddy are not together?
It's because Daddy made some mistakes. Daddy made some mistakes, and I'd much rather have them hear it from me. And so
you've sat down and said, I regret what I did?
No, I don't. I haven't said that. I say that everybody makes mistakes, and the reason why Mommy's living in her house and Daddy's living in his house is because Daddy made mistakes, and it's okay. But you know what? You guys are so lucky to have 2 parents that love you so much. Not everyone has that. And I was lucky enough to have 2 lucky parents, 2 loving parents. My father did not. His parents died by the time he was 11 and 13. And so he grew up without having parents. My mom's parents died early. And so, you know, that to me, I think it's important in the end, is that my kids know that no matter what happens, that they always have Dad. Dad will always be there. And Mom will always be there. It's just that we just don't live together physically. But emotionally and spiritually, we were always there with them.
And you feel like you've apologized to everybody that you need to apologize to?
Yes.
In terms of family and people that you care about?
Yes. Yeah.
Did it make you more vulnerable?
I wouldn't say more vulnerable is the word.
What would you say?
I had to be honest with myself. And that's part of, you know, going through what I went through. Is I messed up. I shunned away a lot of things. I didn't communicate, you know, with, for instance, Elin very well, and I learned from it. And then, you know, flip side, you know, fast forward, I'm a better communicator now. I talk to people more on a deeper level, and I learned a lot. And
if she's forgiven you, then that's a starting point for you.
She's forgiven me a long time ago. But we've worked so hard on creating an environment for our kids. And as I said, she's one of my best friends. And to go, not too many people can say that about their exes, that they're their best friends.
So there's your dad gone, humiliation, which you've dealt with. And then there's injuries. When you look at losing it, are those 3 things responsible, or is it something we don't know or understand? Why did Tiger Woods has not won a major since 2009? 8. But at the same time, Tiger Woods has had good seasons, like 2013.
I was Player of the Year.
After Player of the Year. After all those things has happened. So I'm struggling to understand why you're not playing like you used to play, as I assume you are.
Yeah, well...
And if you don't know, though, how can anybody else know? Because there are all kinds of suggestions by all kinds of people.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of armchair quarterbacking here.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. I've had 3 back operations. Yeah. And that's taken its toll on me.
Yeah. You're not the athlete that you physically...
No, a torn Achilles through that time, blown knee, torn meniscus. So I've gone through physically a lot. I've changed my swing since 2008 3 times, trying to accommodate.
But is that necessary because of the pain and because of the surgery?
Trying to get around certain injuries and not duplicate them.
What's the best advice you've gotten for getting back to where you want to be?
Go back to my dad. His famous line, he always said it to me, you get out of it what you put into it.
You get out what you put in.
You get out of it what you put into it.
You get out of it what you put into it.
If you work hard, you'll get the results. If you don't work hard, you're not, but more importantly, you don't deserve it because you didn't go out there and earn it.
How much of it is physical and how much of it is mental?
For me, the mental comes from the physicality, from having umpteen great practice sessions and training sessions at home, and then going, as I said, going on the golf course with the guys, and then eventually taking that into a tournament setting, and then eventually into down a stretch in a tournament, and then eventually into major championships, and then the back nine on Sunday of a major. All those progressions, but all starts with hitting putts, then working from the green back. Just like how I learned the game.
Me too.
Learn from putting, chipping.
See, I've compared myself to you already.
Drivers, you know. But it is the progression, and it doesn't happen overnight. And it takes a lot of effort.
And that's what'll get you back?
Absolutely.
But the mental part was, I mean, everybody knew you had early, when you went in the U.S. Amateur, you had all the tools. But the mental stuff was so important. I mean, you wanted to win, and you wanted to win, and you also didn't just want to win. You didn't just want to win that tournament. You wanted to beat the hell out of everybody who was there. That was a mindset that you had. You were a killer.
Winning was fun.
Killer.
Winning was fun. Beating someone's even better.
Why is that?
I don't know. I've always had that. You know, if you win a race, you know, you win a meet by a second or two, it sure feels like a lot better if you win it by five or six. You know, striking 4 or 5 guys out. But you know what? Throwing no-hitter is even better. You know,
you just want to throw it right by them, don't you?
Absolutely. You know, that's just, you know, winning a golf tournament, you know, by 1 or 2 is great. But 5 or 6 is even better.
So it must be terribly hard for you to accept this.
It's been terribly hard not to be able to do the things that it would take for me to get to that level. And that is simply just practicing.
Boy, you have a strong confidence in your dad did in hard work.
No, that's where it stems from. I mean, that's, for me, that's
Ben
where
Hogan believed the same thing. That's how Ben Hogan came back from a car accident.
Correct.
That's how Ben Hogan built it. He always said, it's in the dirt. It's in the dirt.
Correct. You got to go earn it.
Yeah. But you also seem to, I mean, you seem to be looking for all these swing coaches and stuff. You know, that somehow they will have a swing that will work best for you. And I wonder whether you need a swing coach because you had a pretty good swing. But you're saying you have to adjust a new swing because of the injuries, which changed your body.
Correct. And having the mindset, you know, having the correct mindset to go into a change. Right. And then applying it to creating a whole new method that I think that would be better and more efficient. And that's what I was always trying to strive to do.
Go ahead.
No, and that's why I've gone through swing coaches, and that's why I've hurt my body. Okay, let's not repeat that. Let's go somewhere else and try it a different way.
Yes.
And, okay, I believe in that mindset. Let's create this method, and let's go down that road. Let's master that, and then next you know, like, okay, crap, that didn't work. And I just come back around and do it again. How
much was this? I mean, there are people who have described you as I mean, you were so self-focused and thinking about the game, and you didn't seem to pay a lot of attention to other people. Yes?
The people who are closest to me, yes. And also then again, I was very uncomfortable being out in public. So
it was more shyness rather than simply saying arrogance and being a jerk?
No, I was always very shy. I've always been very shy. I mean, when I was little, I had a speech impediment, and I used to stutter, you know, pretty badly, where I had to go to a special after-school program for 2 years to learn how to speak correctly. Because I always sat in the back of the classroom. If you ever called upon me, I couldn't speak. I would stutter so badly that the teacher would just pass on me and then go to the next student. And so I had to learn how to speak. And that was hard. I could read, I could write, but I couldn't speak. And so I didn't want to speak to anybody. I didn't want to talk to anybody. And having to go through that difficult time, you know, early on in my childhood, it probably what shaped me to, you know, what I am now.
People have said to me who know golf and know you, saying, you know, they believe you can come back because they believe that the elite can come back. But it's the belief, and it's also making sure that you face the new reality, which is what you're talking about. The new reality is I hit it differently today. Absolutely. I have to compensate to figure out a new way to win.
As I said, most 40-year-olds can't dunk from the foul line. Okay, and yes. So that's part of the evolution of my game, and it's part of the evolution of sport. You got to find a different way to do it, and there's nothing wrong with that. As you alluded to, Jack won the Masters at age 46.
Tom almost won the British Open at
59. But those guys weren't driving over the bunkers. Yeah. Those guys weren't overpowering golf courses. They did it with their mind. They did it strategically and through patience.
That's what you can do now.
That's what I have done in the past, but I also had the physicality to go with it.
Yeah, so you've lost a little bit of the physicality.
Yeah, because, you look back in 90s.
You can't drive over the bunker.
Well, the bunkers are now at 320.
Yeah.
Okay.
The idea of laying,
bunker at 290?
When you were at your best, the idea of laying up was not something, that was not an idea that went into your head.
Because of the fact that I could not only pull off those shots, but I was far enough down there.
Yeah.
And relative to the field, I was one of the longest players.
Yes.
But that was at 296.
Yeah, now it's 320.
Now it's 320. So now, the carry number back when I first came out on tour, most of the guys were, well, there's probably maybe 20, 30 guys still using persimmon. And my carry number where I felt comfortable hitting a driver was 280. Well, right now I can come out of this chair and hit a 3 with 280. So it's a completely different game than what it was then. The game of golf's gotten so much bigger. It's longer. So relative to the field, I'm not quite what I used to be. But numbers-wise, I'm longer than I used to be.
Right. It is also said you don't intimidate like you used to, and that was part of what you had. You intimidated everybody. You came expecting to win, and when they saw you, they expected to lose.
Well, I don't know what they were thinking, but I expected to beat them, yes.
You expected to win. As you said to one person, I'm expected to win. That's what the demand on me is because of what I have achieved.
Forget what I've achieved. I expect to win, and I expect to beat you because of the work I put in and the belief I've had from that work.
Other people work hard, but you're saying they can't work as hard as I can.
I don't know how they work, and I don't know how they derive their own confidence, their own self-belief. Some players derive it from practice. Some guys like to play a bunch of tournaments and develop their momentum and feel and competitiveness that way. I have, from most part of my career, since probably '99, I really haven't played that much. Some guys will play up to close to 30 events.
Right.
I've never done that.
You tailored it for the big ones, for the majors.
I've tried to peak for 4 times a year. And when I was younger, it was harder because I only had the U.S. Junior.
Right.
1 time a year. So all that matters, 1 time a year.
You won 3 years.
3 years in a row. Then the amateur.
Right.
And then NC2As.
Right.
So I did that for a couple of years, and then amateur for 3 years. But then, as a pro, 4 times.
When do you think you'll come back?
I'm hoping to come back in December.
You are?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to play in the turkey thing? And
no.
Yeah, but in December?
In December, yeah. At the Hero World Challenge, yeah.
You believe you can do that. You'll be ready. Mm-hmm. Something will happen between withdrawing from Safeway and competing there.
More hard work.
More hard work. All right. Yeah. This game, I want to talk about the game too. Of all the tournaments, which one meant the most to you? Was it the first Masters when you were 21?
Meant the most or the hardest to win?
Both.
Meant the most, the '97 Masters. The hardest to win was...
Oh, that was the first one.
Yeah, meant the most was the '97 Masters, and then the hardest to win was the last one in '08. My leg was broken.
Right.
So.
And you played through that.
Yeah, no ACL, my leg was broken, and that
How did you do that?
Hell if I know. I look back on those days, and I don't know how I pulled that off.
You've said to me today, which I believe, what you love about the game is winning, but more specifically, beating somebody. That's what you love.
That's fun.
What is it about the military? What is it about the Navy SEALs that had you so engaged obsessed, admiring?
Well, I grew up, my dad was in Special Forces, being a Green Beret. And so being around Special Forces operators all my life, I've seen that world. And that world is it difficult? Yes, absolutely. But it's also comfortable to me because I was raised in it. Some of my dad's best friends were operators, either currently at the time or formerly retired. And then the guys who were operating became retired, and we still play golf. And so to me, that was a world that I had grown up in. And so was it a big jump for me to participate and see it in a different light? Not really, because I've seen it all my life. And it's not like, being a military brat, that's kind of, what I was used to.
But one of your caddies said that you talked about giving up golf to become a Navy SEAL. Did you?
Well, I told my dad at a very early age that I want to become a person in the military or eventually become a golfer or a businessman. Well, I got a chance to become a golfer and a businessman. I just didn't go in the military.
Arnold Palmer died in the last couple of weeks. What did he mean to you?
He was a friend. He was a friend. And a person that I would pick up the phone and call, and we'd rap about, golly, we've rap about so many different things, and to have the conversations and dinners I've had with him were some of the great memories. And probably one of the fondest memories I have was at Napa. Yeah. I was in college, and Arnold invited me over for dinner. So I go over to dinner and have dinner with him in Napa. And Arnold picks up the tab, and I'm not going to say, hey, I'm a college student, I'm going to pick up my tab. Yeah. It's Arnold Palmer.
Yeah.
Well, I ended up my coach found out, and did you pick up the tab? No, Arnold did. Well, I reported into the NC2As. I'm declared ineligible. And so I go to the All-American in El Paso, and I have to write Arnold Palmer a check, $25 for my steak dinner. He has to cash the check, fax the copy back to NC2As, and then I was declared eligible to play in an All-American.
How about Jack Nicklaus?
What about him?
What's your relationship with him? Do you believe he is the greatest golfer ever to live?
I think I'm pretty good too.
Do you think you're better than Nicklaus?
I think he and I would have a hell of a duel back in the day.
Do you think you're better than he is, even though he has 18 and you have 14?
I think right now I could kick his ass.
Do you really? Right now?
Yeah, he's 70.
No,
what is he now?
That's true.
Okay.
So 40 would beat 70 something.
Yeah, you think? But I think that Jack has always been one of my heroes. I looked up to him. I looked at his record.
Have you lusted for his record?
I wouldn't say lusted for his record. But I just think that was the gold standard because, he had won the most majors and the second most tour events. And so he was the most efficient, I think, at the highest level for the longest period of time. And, how did he do it? One, he didn't play that much either. He played a very limited schedule.
Right.
And he paced himself and basically tried to get ready 4 times a year. And he was better at it than anybody else had come along. Walter Hagen's record's at 11,
right.
And here he is at 18.
And you're at 14.
I'm at 14, correct.
And you believe you'll have more than 18?
Correct.
And if you don't, you will say?
I didn't get there.
Yeah.
But
you, in fact, have said in another interview, I think with Time Magazine, that if, in fact, anything that I win from now on is gravy, because you're in the Hall of Fame, you're in the record books, that there are people who still, regardless of how many you win, say you're the greatest because they saw that run. And they saw the level of that game, and they said, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, it was famously the comment that I guess that Bobby Jones made about Jack, I've never seen, that's not a game I'm familiar with.
Right.
And then Jack supposed said about you, that's not a game I'm familiar with.
Right. Well, I think it's a generational thing.
Right, yeah.
Length, according to Bobby Jones, what Jack was doing was like, oh my God. Well, where I was hitting it, Jack couldn't hit it that far. Technology had changed. It's changed greatly. And so I was able to do things that Jack wasn't able to do because of equipment. Jack was able to do things that Bobby Jones couldn't do because of equipment. But one commonality is that we're all efficient in what we did, and we did it better than most people did.
Someone also said to me that the great ones never lose the fire; they only lose their ability. That's true, isn't it?
There will come a point in time when, yeah, physically, I won't be able to do it. I won't be able to do it at the highest level.
How do you know? And how do you know that's not now?
I won't be able to prepare to be ready to go out there and win. And for me, if I'm not able to prepare to win, then I can't do it anymore.
What do you want to be known for other than a great golfer and a great businessman?
What we've done for all the kids have come through our learning labs. I think that the whole second part of my life will probably be even better and more impactful than what I did as a golfer.